when we think of contemporary cinema, one of those directors, one of those very few directors who continues to have a real personality, whose films immediately, within 5 minutes, you know you're in Nuri Bilge Ceylan land, that he just takes you to another place and really brings you a whole new way of looking at the world, looking at relationships, and really looking at cinema.
Actually, I started cinema quite late, because in those days it was not easy to start, because it was expensive. There was no video cameras. So it has been maybe 10 years just to start for me. So I started about 36 years old. I think it's better to start earlier because you don't afraid of anything when you are young. It's easier to make mistakes. And I think making mistakes is the best teacher in this business, maybe for everything.
How do you work with your cinematographer, being a photographer yourself? What do you tell your cinematographer about generally or about specific scenes?
Actually, I wouldn't work with a cinematographer if I didn't act myself in this film. When I had to find somebody to use the camera since I was acting, and I didn't trust anybody, of course. So I just found somebody who will use as an operator. He didn't shoot any film before. Somebody from the company that I rented the camera. It was an ordinary guy, actually. And the next time I go on working with the same guy. Now he is the most famous cinematographer in Turkey.
Herkes yaptığının cezasını çekiyor. Çocuklarsa büyüklerin günahını.
Many of the actors were professional actors who worked in many films.
All of them, maybe all of them, yes. Yeah.
And what was that like? Because before you'd often worked either with, as you mentioned, yourself or with people who were close to you and whatever. How was that transition working with professionals?
It depends on the project, you know. If you want what you wrote, if you want to be precise, if you want to obey your script, professionals are better. But if your film will be mostly improvisation and things like that, like a Kiarostami film, unprofessional is much better, of course. Okay. It depends on the project, but lately I prefer professionals. It's because it's very difficult to work with amateurs, not in terms of they don't know how to act, okay, but they don't love cinema. I called one professional from Winter Sleep. He was in India. The next day he came for the test. You know, they love cinema and their passion, and sometimes I like. They, you know, it's they are the amateurs. In the middle of the film, they leave sometimes. You know, they don't care.
So I wanted to ask about the way you write. When you write for each character, do you go the same depth of everyone, and then you explore in the script how you're gonna make them like an ensemble or something complementing to each other, or do you know where the depth of each character in the film?
You know, as soon as you start writing, you begin to struggle, and it seems impossible all the time. Every day, it seems to me this script will go nowhere. But someday, after struggling 6 months, suddenly there is a script in front of me. And you forget the process, and you don't want to remember it, really. It's fightings, thinking. As a director, when you write that the kind of scenes you can shoot. So when I feel confident more, I could go more in detail. I can manage to shoot it.